often created by small new companies that want to improve public services. And those services might be the ones that you touch as a citizen or as a business, whether it's when you're logging into a website or experiencing some kind of service, or it may be the things that are going on behind the infrastructural change that facilitates a better service. So that to me is GovTech.
How do you define, Christian, GovTech?
I think almost one of you know earlier on, the government as it exists today is software, right? I mean, I remember when we worked for the Ministry of Science and Technology, and they would make new laws and now go implement those laws, and we always had to translate it into software. So I think if you think about the Danish government platform, what serves the citizens, that's a collection of services, internal, external, which you're talking about. That whole collection and the ecosystem around it and the value that's built upon it is for me GovTech, right? And I think we very rarely think about the government as software, but it really is software. It's the execution of the government exists in software. You cannot do, the politicians can make as many changes as they want, but if the software don't get changed, it doesn't exist. It's just some people voting. So I think the execution of government as we know it in the software and the software systems related to that is GovTech.
Okay, so that's our definition. So let's move on, because you, Sargon, in the ministry, sort of launched an initiative to do more about this. Why?
We launched a GovTech program inside our own ministry in order to have more innovation in our institutions. And we did it because we see that we have sometimes some problems that we see could be nice to have a solution to, but we don't have the expertise, we don't have the tech solutions inside the ministry. So we wanted to reach out and we want to define a problem rather than a solution when we're going into dealing with the
But shouldn't you hire some more people with digital knowledge?
No, I don't think so, because I think the government sector has to focus on what they're good to and what they're set in the world to do. But also they need to see where are the problems that we need to solve. And then I think the beauty of this is that we try to connect the government sector with the tech companies that has solutions and have a dialogue and a cooperation in order to see how can we come up with these new tech solutions. Because I think we want to open up the government sector for innovations, and that's the philosophy.
And that all sounds very good, even though some people might say innovation and government, that might not be a match made in heaven. Is it working?
Can I just pick up on this question, which is, it is absolutely the case, just as in the private sector, you need capable staff if you want to engage with, buy, co-create digital services. So one thing doesn't exclude the other. But having capable digital staff is not the same thing as saying that you are able to create the kind of products that can transform public services. Not everybody can leave the public sector and create a great company like Trajan. I'd love for more people to do so, but on the whole, they're not the same thing. But you are right to say that there are challenges. What we expect of public services and those people who could run those services, deliberate working methods, a care for all use cases and not just the easiest to reach, an ethical foundation, ensuring compliance with not just laws but ethical procedures. All those things, of course, militate towards creating a slightly slower way of working than what we see in the private sector. But at the same time, across public services, we've seen extraordinary innovation, digital or not. So I caution against the idea of thinking, public sector, lack of imagination, lack of innovation, private sector full of it. No, it's not quite the case.
I'd like to give you the word, because you've been in both sectors, both the private and the public.
Yes, I have the background on both sides, right? And you were working with some of the deepest pieces of technology in the Danish government, right? Tax algorithms, we were advising the tax platforms like that, and lots of other stuff. And I think one of the big mistakes is actually, I'm going to call you out, so I'm sorry, but is that it's not about IT on one side and then the business process and the government people on the other side. I think what we fundamentally have in the government today is a design challenge. I think we got to think the design of public services from scratch as digital services. And I think what we're doing right now, this is also going on in a lot of private companies, and I think that's the other thing. The people that don't know that the laundry is worse on the other side, is worse on the other side. I mean, the private sector has as many problems, they're just less public about it. But we need to move away from just, putting IT magic dust over our services and now they're digital. to actually designing our services bottom up to be digital services from scratch. I actually don't think it's so much as a software challenge, it's actually a design challenge. And I think that means that a lot of the people who are in the government today, they need to be empowered to a new group of people and
But
constituents.
that's a fundamental change.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you take service platform, for instance.
Yes.
Very highly debated
Yes.
topic. Where you have a lot of laws at the moment, right? And on top of that, you try to make an IT system comply with all that. And some people say it doesn't work at all. But when I hear you correctly, you sort of have to move it around. You've got to start with design and then put some law on top of it.
But not designed for the department or the institution. Of course, when you're in the government, there's a lot of department institutional fights. Who has the turf over service X, right? But I think you've got to start from the other side. What is the purpose of the service? Which citizens does it serve? And also, what data do you want to expose from this service for other parties to build on top of that, right? And I think it's a very different mindset. I think all parts of the government should have a mandate from the beginning, not just to think of the service, but the ecosystem they're going to build around that service. And just handing it to the same IT companies, CSC, KMD, etc., that are doing these tasks over is not going to solve that. Sorry.
I think I agree, and I think we discussed a little bit different things. I think what we are trying to do with this program is to start at a small scale to experiment and see can we do some issues in a different way. Just to give an example, our authority, who is responsible for electricity in houses and checking that they are working well. They want to see, can we come up with a solution where you can see which kind of wiring are at where inside a wall, for instance. So they can check if are there any hazards there or any illegal installations that you want to prevent. And I don't think that we can have people within this authority to actually know about if this technical is this viable to do this. So we have to do that in cooperation with companies and tech companies that knows about this. So that's what we are trying to do with this program. I fully agree that we have to work more closely together and think digitization from the beginning and work very closely with the vendor to solve the problems. And I think
we got Peter Skov, the word director at Microsoft. Listening to this debate here, where is Microsoft as a more established player? How are you perceiving all this?
I agree with the majority of what's being said. I think we see, I also agree that we see the same challenges within the private sector too. However, I think where we see the biggest difference between private sector and what we see in the public sector is the way we engage with each other. So the way we co-create, we do that a lot in the private sector. We do it less in the public. So it's like I think there's a tradition in the public sector about having a concrete issue, a concrete problem to solve, initiating a tendering process, find a solution, and implement it, problem solved. Where opposite in the private sector, we see much more, big enterprise things, enterprise companies thinking, we know a lot about our products, we know Microsoft know a lot about the technology, we invite them in. We sit there, 200 people co-creating together for a week or two, and see what comes out of it. We don't really know when we start. And I see...
It sounds like a scary process for a civil servant.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think that's the reason why we are keeping a little away from it. I think we start to see that it's happening, but I agree that it's very scary because you don't know what the outcome is. But I think that is where we find the true innovation.
So let's stick to this point here, because I think it sort of epitomizes what we're talking about here. If the private sector and the public sector should merge into something beautiful called GovTech, we got to fix that thing. Is it possible?
But it absolutely is possible, and we've seen it across the world. We operate public in the UK, Germany, France, and Denmark, and we see, particularly in the UK, there have been many more examples of that kind of collaboration, particularly with new and innovative companies. But there's something really important here. I think, sort of listening to my co-panelists, what is it we're talking about, right? We need a public sector of people who are not just digitally aware, but culturally open to a different sort of collaboration in the future. We need an infrastructural set of solutions that don't superimpose digital upon an old school way of thinking, the sort of government as a platform. And then I think we need some new procurement systems that allow that kind of collaboration to take place in a way that incentivizes both sides. And it isn't straightforward because when the public sector and the private sector collaborate, there are questions around who owns the IP and who is to benefit in the future. And I'm one of those people who think that we should have conjoined solutions where the state can also benefit from the IP as long as it allows the private operator to go and do what they do best, which is to build successful companies. But it definitely works, and it should work really well in a country like Denmark, where we have digitized services.
But is it working? But I think absolutely not in certain areas and very well in others. And I think the problem is, if you take the UK, right, the fintech regulator there is amazing because they're realizing that the future of London and the future of UK is fintech and finance. So they built a fintech regulator that pretty much inverted itself inside out and now are serving fintech companies as its primary purpose, building sandboxes for them so they can exist and sort of slot into the new regulation. That's amazing. But if you look at, for instance, Denmark, right, it's a different mindset because it's a risk mindset, right? There is very little reward for public service to engage in risky projects. In the UK, they need to, because finance is such a big part of their market. What opportunities is Denmark going to lose if the public sector don't perform itself? And if you don't have that burning platform, you're going to see very little change. There's going to be experiments, there's going to be pilots, and I mean, certainly operates within the political mandate he has, so whatever happens will happen on the sidelines of that. To take a very concrete example of where I don't think we shouldn't do so much collaboration, right? So take the CPR registry, the registry of all Danish citizens. It's an absolute disaster that sits on somebody else's servers. That should be open source, it should be open IP by the Danish government, and it should be long term. We need to think about, like, when we build a bridge, it's something we need to absolutely secure the long term ownership for. The tax algorithm. I remember 15 years, 12 years ago, we tried to move, this is not public knowledge, we tried to move the tax algorithm from one company running it to another one, but they could not arrive at the same result. And literally, because this is running on so old mainstream institutions, nobody dare touch it, right? So, and this is not government-owned IP. So I think if we look at the core services that enables and running government, that needs to be open source. It needs to be long-term owned by the Danish government. It needs to be long-term IP. Because that's actually the way you can open up for companies like Microsoft and others to come into play, which they don't do in those areas today, right? It's owned by a very small set of companies. And then I think everywhere else around, we can open up for innovation, we can open far more. So I think it's very important where we have control, and I think some of the core control should be on the infrastructure layer, and then we should open on the infrastructure.
Maybe you should have been a member of the disruption board. That's really disruptive in many ways. I want to stick to the point about risk aversion in the public sector. When you really, you've got to tell the truth now, sorry. Do you see any changes within the government? Of just, maybe not that version, but sort of stepping a little bit out and taking chances when it comes to IT?
Yes, I do see that, and I see in my own ministry, I know our business authority has been working with agile cooperation with IT companies for some years, and trying to doing in agile way to develop the solutions as the goal and sit very close to each other, the vendor to come up to see what is the problem, how to fix it, what is the next problem, how to fix that. And I know other authorities do that as well. But of course, there's also some hesitance to go into that, and then the tax algorithm is a whole separate story and very big problems in legacy systems. But I do see change, and that's also what we are trying to take it one step further. And you asked questions about the tendering and what we see there. We're also responsible for the rules. Of course, we have to be compliant with EU regulations, just to state that. But what we have seen is there are some new flexible mechanisms that you can use within the EU regulation that you don't see very much in the public sector. And so this is what we also try to look into and see, can it be more flexible? Why is it that you don't use it this much in the public sector?
Peter, looking from Microsoft, this is Søren's assessment about how it's going on. Is it the same way you perceive it?
Yeah, but because I think in all fairness, I think also the public sector has also been moved and have a, compared to my peers in the other European countries, I hear far more complex solutions or situations that we see in Denmark. So I think we have a good standpoint, but I think also in all fairness that the public sector is also missing a lot of help there in regards to compliance regulations. We did a report in the public sector 2 months ago around those new technologies driving this innovation. So it's around the use of data and artificial intelligence. And actually the result of that was done by 25 top senior leaders within the public sector. 95% of them said that they saw a huge potential and they were willing to lean more in. 92% of them said that they were missing competencies. And 50% of them said that the area in general was missing priority. They are part of that problem, but it's also from a political standpoint. So I think that when it comes to regulation and compliance, from where I started, almost a year ago, 25th of May last year, we had GDPR introduced. As part of that, we also terminated the war rule, which was the rule that were telling us which data were able to go to the cloud or not. And a lot of this that we are discussing cloud is the engine of that. So in 14 days, we have waited a year for a new regulation. It's called 3.9, and still we're waiting for that one. And the only thing that the ministry can tell us right now is that we don't know when it will be ready. So I'm just saying that for a year, we haven't had any regulations, and that is definitely one of the big issues of why innovation is being slowed down in the public sector. So just in all fairness, there are also some rules and regulations that you have to follow with in the public sector.
And I think there's a huge disconnect between the regulation side and the execution side. I mentioned the new law of central cybersecurity, which pretty much is a poison pill for software industry in Denmark, who works with the government, who works with these systems, right? And it's very, very clear that there haven't been any, I would very brutal in my assessment, there haven't been any competent people who know about software involved in the drafting process of that law. And I think it was even your minister who went out and said, we made a comment that said essentially it would be impossible for us to have software developers in Denmark if this comes into effect. And he said, oh, no companies are going to leave Denmark. And I think it's just so bloody naive to think that we in Denmark can dictate on a global stage how software companies should develop and build software, and also to think that the Danish government know more about IT and cybersecurity than companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple, Traces, and others. I mean, the idea that some of my former colleagues from the Danish government should build software that I should form on my circle scares the shit out of me. Like, and I mean, we can just look at what's happening. So I think there are absolutely so massive potential for GovTech, and that's why it saddens me even more. I mean, the Traces grew out of it. We essentially grew out of open source that was released for the Easy Trade platform, which was used to trade in Denmark. And when we wrote the Easy Trade platform and the legislation around it, we said one of the opportunities here is to create an ecosystem for software developers. And actually, Denmark has been one of the hardest markets for traders to penetrate. We have almost no presence. We sometimes laugh at the irony of that, right? But because that ecosystem is working. So I think as a government, far too often, especially Danish government, we don't think about the impacts on the economy. We don't think about the impacts on the ecosystem. We think very internally. Oh, we better get a law to take care of the cybersecurity problem, and then we write some like complete fever dream of badness. Or we need to deal with these things, but actually, and it was the same by the government of our back then, when we did the Easy Trade thing, etc., we create huge economic effects for society, and I think that's where GovTech wins.
I think I have a strictly business view of this. I guess there might be some people saying that there are other things in life than that, maybe cybersecurity in the end is more important than the economic aspect. But let's not take that debate here. Maybe Keane will show up at some point and say something. I just want to say that time is running. So I think we should start out with some brief comments from the three of you to the government guy. And then you can start wrap it all up, yeah. But maybe just your three best recommendations for moving ahead with GovTech. You've been around it, but sort of like if you really should sharpen it, 3 points each of you.
One comment, and I'll make my points. One comment is, it is absolutely the case that we need to bring a lot of people with us to appreciate what technology does and what it doesn't do. And it's one thing to wanting to bring civil servants, but we also have to bring politicians with us. And for them, they are in many cases starting from a pretty low base, not because they're ignorant or stupid, but because they haven't in their life had to deal with any of these things, left, right, center, it doesn't really matter. And I think it is incumbent upon us to do something about that. So I think one is, where is the sort of, Danish school for government and technology that can become the sort of place where people can get a better grounding in some of these issues, can have their questions answered without feeling stupid about it. Oh, by the way, I'm thinking about putting this amendment down. Is this law, is that a good idea? I don't know. So, the second thing I'd say is we've got to find a way to create permissibility within areas of policy. Take areas to say, we have some very complex issues here. I disagree with Christian who says there's no pressure in the public sector. There's massive pressure. We're going to have so many old people that we don't know how to take care of them. It's going to be extremely costly to operate the welfare system as it is. New digital solutions will have to be a core part of that, otherwise the whole thing's going to collapse. But because of that, I think what we need to say is, look at these 2-3 areas. It can't be everything across government, where you create a sort of innovation zone, where you say, in these areas in particular, we are going to go further, faster, we're going to be more innovative, we're going to allow different ways of working, we're going to test new procurement systems. I think that will allow kind of examples of success to emerge that other areas can look to. Right now, we don't have enough of these large areas, so 2. 1, 2. Well, I was worried about your timing.
We move on to Peter.
Yeah, I think I said it before, but it's a matter of collaborating differently than we do today. So I think that's the key. The synergy is between public sector and the private things there. So I think we have to embrace that better. Don't fight the big tech companies. We will never win that battle anyway. I mean, that amount of innovation that is being put into this is something we have to embrace and adapt. And the fact is today that, and I understand and I agree with you, that we have to also look into privacy and security into that. But I think the fact is that it's either Chinese or American, as it is right now. And I hear a lot of politicians say we need a European player, but there is none. That's the fact. So either we embrace all the innovation that is coming out of those American, maybe not Chinese, I don't know, and then we use it in a controlled manner and innovate together.
I absolutely think we need cybersecurity. I think we need to invest in the right places, not the wrong ones. I think we need to completely rewrite the CPR system. It's a time bomb on our privacy, and the fact that we haven't had any major scandal yet is just a miracle. I think we need to accelerate the move to standardized platforms, stop doing everything special in Denmark, standardized cloud, using standardized platforms for standardized services. The CIA now run on both Amazon and Azure in the US. If the CIA can run on those platforms, I don't think Denmark is that special. We can't do that. So that's probably my 2 biggest sort of recommendations.
So EU and NATO.
Yes, exactly.
You have got one?
No, I want to hear from people.
Yeah, sure. We're going to open up now, but just want to wrap it all up here. So we gave you a little present today. You can take it back home to the ministry, but if you just want to quickly reflect different kind of points there, what do you think? Any of it you think?
I think it shows it's very multi-sided. There's a lot of different issues to take on. Some are more just low-hanging fruits, others are very deep questions that are also very connected to the political issues. But of course, it's my responsibility to take this on and work with this, and we want to actually do what we can to make it digitization and technology thrive in the public sector. And I think the government has taken important steps. For instance, that every new regulation has to be able to be digitized. So that's, I think, one step that the Danish government has taken that I don't see many other countries has done. So there's, I think we actually is on the forefront of digitization. And according to the UN, we are #1 in the world because of some of the things that Christian has been doing in the public sector for some years ago. But of course, there's a new questions raised by globalization, by IT, and yet to look into that and find the right solutions.
And then let's open up the floor. Anybody that wants to.
Can we do a straw poll?
We can do a straw poll.
How many of the people in this room think that the public sector can embrace some of the technologies that have driven, great successes like Christian's company? Put your hands up if you think. Okay. And who do not think? This is terrible. How many of those who say not worked in the public sector? No, true? It was interesting, it's an overwhelming positive view of how technology can transform the public sector.
Exactly. Just briefly say your name, where you come from, and just a short question.
Yeah, sure. Independent consultant, my name is Booker. How do you see the government attract new potential Christian banks? How do the government become a place that's so popular to work at that you can attract these young people who's going to, make the new revolution?
Could I start with that one?
Yeah, sure.
I think that the government will be in competition with companies like the one I'm representing, and I think that will be a very hard battle. I think we are in a position to attract some of these talents even better than the government will be. Of course, there will be some, that will be driven by the greater cause, and that's good. But again, coming back to my point, and that is the main reason why we should co-create, because I think the brightest brains will be part of my organization because we pay them a little more.
Can I
You want to follow up? Or? Yeah.
I speak up. But isn't that difficult having a private company doing creation and innovation for the public?
Can I just contest this? Polly and I were part of a government in the UK that transformed, public sector digitization. And the reason we did that was not just because I think we had the right ideas and people recognized them as the right ideas. It was also because we were able to hire dynamic leaders who people wanted to work for, that had an agenda that was politically supported, that people wanted to contribute and be part of. And not just because they were sort of head in the cloud idealists, because they saw there was a real opportunity to do something. There was leadership to get it done, and there was political support from the top down in order to do so. And if you do that, you can create a real dynasty. The government doesn't need to be hiring, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of developers, but it does need core multidisciplinary teams that can take on some of these big challenges. Yes, in collaboration with the private sector. So I don't think it's impossible, but I do think that it requires leadership both at a political and a bureaucratic level, and an agenda, to the point that we've been discussing, that the kind of people we're talking about, whether the product managers or developers, want to be part of. If it's just fix it for another day, then then people aren't going to get so excited about it.
I completely agree. Just to adding to that. So when I say I talk more from the developer point of view, data scientist and whatever, that will be a very hard battle to compete in. But I completely agree. And in the past 5 years, where I've been working closely with the public sector, I see also a huge development there. I see public sector attracting much more qualified employees, which are really trying to get things moving.
One of the greatest things that happened to Finland's public sector was the collapse of Nokia. I don't know if a lot of people know the story, but what happened, not only did it spawn a whole games ecosystem, but what it actually did was a lot of engineers and product developers seeking jobs went into the public sector, not all of them, and it just meant a huge influx of people into the Finnish public sector at local, health and central level that thought totally differently about how to solve problems. And it was a massive boom to the point where the Finnish sector is very, very modern today.
One short comment and then we need some more questions.
I think it's about the leaders, as you said. Mission driven. There's a lot of young people who are very mission driven. I think there's a big chance to do missions, but that's also why we've got to stop separating business and IT. Nobody want to work in IT. Nobody. Really nobody. But if you can be part of designing services and building services and creating an impact, you want to. So make it about the services and the impacts, not about IT.
Right, okay. If you could change your career, would you not have started in government?
No, and we kept saying the same thing. So my co-founders of Tracy, I worked with for most of my career in the public sector, and they're all in startups before previously, and we always said the same thing. We'll quit when we can't find something that's bigger than this, but we got to work on the European level implementations of payment infrastructure. Like, even in the private sector, it had to be very many years of Microsoft to get to architect that. So from an impact perspective, there's very, very few things to compete with the impact we can have in the government. I think that's actually the biggest sort of driver for people who are looking for impact. But you're gonna have to sorry.
Just to say that I think we actually are able to attract very good people. We have a number of machine learning specialists working, and they are sort of, they want to do in the public sector and work with the issues that we are supporting for the companies. But of course, there's a huge competition, and that's also why I don't think the public sector is at the very forefront of technology and innovation. So of course, we have to connect with the private sector. It has to be a cooperation.
Great. One more question. I think maybe you were the first one over here. Coming up.
Just a quick question then. You mentioned machine learning. So what sort of a role does machine learning have in GovTech? And what specifically do we see it accomplishing?
I can see what we're using in our ministry, and we are responsible for the filings of companies' sheets, and in each year they have to file their landscape annual accounts. And what we see, there's a lot of mistakes, especially for small and medium-sized companies. And what we're using is machine learning to see what are the probability where to look for the errors, and then contact the companies and say, well, this is not working properly, you have to make this different. And so a few years ago, just it was all manual made, and you will see that in many different areas of the public sector, cobots also, but where you have to control the information you get in, you can see, use machine learning to find errors in advance rather than do it afterwards. Just one example.
Let's take one more question. Yeah. In the middle.
Hello, Felix. I'm a project consultant. I just wanted to ask you, because I find that a lot of the developments that we see in public, whatever, is driven by sort of fear or necessity that technology is coming. It's like, wow, what do we do? So we try and grasp, why can we do something? And I found what you said, Daniel, very interesting about educating politicians, but educating everyone. And how do you see the challenge of actually not taking technology and see what problems it can solve, but deciding what problems we want to solve with technology? So sort of opening another kind of discussion about why are we doing it, and maybe the type of this festival as well. So not letting technology sort of decide what we're doing, but deciding what we do want to do with technology.
Want to start off?
Yeah, just start out. I mean, it might sound weird for somebody who invests in technology startups to say that it's of course not all about technology. I mean, we spend most of our time saying public services can be enhanced, supported, improved by new technology. And indeed, new kinds of services can emerge that just weren't possible before. Roads that can speak to you, or robots that can be caring for people. But at the end of the day, public services are about people and the processes between how you deliver what the governed and the governing kind of arrange between themselves. So of course it's got to be about those human processes. The problem we have now is we have had years and years of talking about business transformation, with technology just being that sort of thing that you threw in at the end. And we now need to get to a place where we have kind of, if you will, parallel conversations. What is the transformation we want to get on? And how can we enhance that with technology, even to the point where we are able to create a transformation and services that did not exist before because of what technology can do. So to me, it's a parallel track.
Question.
I think, first off, you don't really have a choice if technology is coming or not. You can decide how you want to leverage it, how you want to implement it, how you want to shape it. And that's for me why design is so important, because that's actually the role of design, right? When designers sit down to design a car, they have a purpose. You ask, people or purpose to want us to fulfill, and I think that's why design is such an important discipline, and it's pretty much completely lacking today in government services. And I think that's where we should invest more, necessarily more than just hiring more data scientists right now. I think the other part of the challenge is educating the politicians. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. And I mean, I've been working with a lot of them. I mean, it's been my job. So we had a new politician come in and we have to brief them on everything that goes on. And to put it mildly, it's extremely difficult if they don't have any English to start with. So I think it's really more on people to think about, as we're electing our leaders, do we think that these people have the skill sets required to lead this country? Are they digital savvy? And not being digital savvy, I'm sorry, I just don't think you have the competences needed to be a politician in 2019. And I think that's a very, very tough criteria, but we wouldn't let people who don't know basic economics or calculation or language either have that job, and this is where we are.
That's a very bold statement, you know that?
Probably, yeah.
I think we should end on that bold statement, because time is up. But I want to thank Daniel Korski, and Søren Gaard, Peter Skov, and Christian Bach.